Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about mistakes of new photographers. So be very mindful, I'm directly focusing on people who want to jump into the hobby or they are just starting out. So these are the mistakes that they will make and that will make their life miserable. So we'll start with the first core fundamental, that is know thyself. Freaking know yourself, man. Like if you do not do that, then you will have the stupid ideas of asking people which camera is best for photography. That fundamentally shows that you do not understand photography is an umbrella term. Basically there is hundreds of things that people do inside that photography. Now thankfully, because of the advance of smartphone and cameras, there is a very good chance you have one of those, and there's a very good chance you have taken, if you are interested about photography or you want to become pro at it, you have lot of photographs there. Now sort them out, like figure it out, like what kind of photographs do you take a lot, or what kind of photographs you like, dude, I really wanted, I could do better in this kind of photo. Yeah, like for example, if you try to do bird photography with your mobile phone, you could succeed, but your hit rate would be very low. But again, if that gives you joy, you will know for a fact that hey, bird photography is my area of interest. I'll buy equipment that is fine-tuned, well suited for that job. That is very critical. That's why know yourself, that is the first thing. And if you are pro and basically you want to do this as a living, and you're like, hey, people are hiring me for a wedding photography, people are hiring me for sports photography, your tool set has already been selected for you. Do not try to go around too much. It's like, no, it's your tool set that will give you money, so please make sure that you buy the right tool for the right job. It's like, you know for a fact that you need telephoto because you are a sports photographer hired as a sports photographer magazine or some local news systems. You're like, you have to invest in that kind of situation. You do not have the luxury of like, what if I bought ultra wide so I can do astrophotography. Now, what do you actually do? Like, as in, like, what is your job? What do what makes sure there's a bread on your table? Another aspect, for the people who are doing it as a hobby kind of scenario, what do you want to do? Now if the answer is not coming absolutely, it's like, no, this is one thing that I do. For example, architecture photography, bird photography, macro photography, portrait photography. Like, if you're not getting into that final solution, it's like, no, this is exactly what I do. Thankfully there are some new categories of lenses. These are not the best lenses, however they do have luxury of range. For example, super zoom lenses. Example, one of the prime example right now which is available in Sony, Nikon and Canon, that is 24 to 240, that is 10x of optical range. These lenses are not the best. Like, flat out, you will easily find lenses that are much better than this, but however, this lenses allow you the luxury of choice. It's like, you take your camera, you block out this one lens and you can just go on it, like just keep shooting, and after 1 year, 2 years, or even 3 years, then you compile all your photographs that you have taken, and then you can fine tune it on let's say millimeter basis based on your Lightroom software or whatever software that you want to choose, and then you can randomly, like, instantaneously see, hey, dude, most of my photographs are like, let's say 180 plus. Then you know for a fact that that's your sweet spot. Then you gonna buy next lens would be f2 basically f2.8 70 to 200, because that's your butter, that's your sweet spot. Or if you're like, hey dude, most photographs I'm taking is in the ultra wide range, buy ultra wide prime at that point in time, or ultra wide holy trinity lens, like for example 17 to 200, 17 to 200, like basically 70 to 24. So those sort of things will help you narrow down your search. If you are in hobby department, in your pro department, decision has already been made for you, and right tool for the right job is critical here. It's not an optional thing, it's critical. For example, if you're doing architecture photography and that's your job, like people are hiring, hey dude, can you do photography for let's say this municipality? That's a thing apparently, and people make lots of money because it's not glamorous, and people are not looking too much into it. So like, there is a like free reign there, and people who are wise about this, they are like, hey dude, I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna buy a tilt shift lens. Now those lenses are expensive AF, but because they have the ability to correct for perspective, so instead of your building lines looking like this, they look like this. It's like, whoa, the moment somebody sees that, and that's one thing that you cannot fake with no matter what you do, is like, whoa, you're hired, you're gonna take my money and you're gonna give me my photos. So that happens. So you have to know thyself. If you know that, everything else become easy after that. Now this is one thing that people who are coming from mobile phone will have hard time understanding. It's like, it's an ecosystem. You are not buying Fuji's model, you are not buying Sony's model, you are not buying Canon's model or Nikon's model. You are buying the whole company, aka the whole ecosystem. For example, most things are not cross compatible. For example, let's say you bought, hey, I love my Nikon lenses, but you know what, I'm not happy with the performance of the body. What if I bought Sony body or like Canon body, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna make them marry together? Yeah, no, that's not happening. They are not cross compatible. So this is one thing that you have to understand. Everything that you are investing in, you are investing into a system, and you get locked into it. So it's very crucial that you take your time, take a deep breath, analyze every single aspect of it, and then jump into it, because it's a system. You are locked into it. For example, minor things that you do not think about, but ask any photographer that has been doing this for 10 or 15 years. They're like, dude, I have like a truck full of this. Batteries, one thing. Chargers, another thing. Flashes, another thing. And all these things are not cross compatible. It's like you're stuck. Another aspect being first party lenses, because first party lenses generally are the best in any system, be it Sony, be it Nikon, be it Canon. However, these lenses are generally refreshed very late. Like they are not every year they're gonna release a new lens. It will be like one lens and they're gonna wait 5 to 8 years. So it's like if you buy a lens, you can be very relaxed, like, yeah, no, it's not gonna release next year or next few months. It's not like mobile phone. However, that gives a very good advantage in the middle period, where let's say first party introduced a lens that was good for that time, but a lot of research, a lot of R&D, and then Sigma will come around with a lens that is cheaper but has better performance than the first party one, because it's in that middle zone. Now first party operator will be like, dude, I have to wait for, like, so I don't obsolete my old equipment very quickly. But now you can buy the third party one. So that's why people look into third party one. It's like, because in some scenarios, if you are right in that precision point where it's like, dude, the first party lens first generation was not that good, the second one would be, they're like middle point, they will be like, what if you spend less money and get more performance than Gen 1? You're like, I'm gonna buy it. So that's why you have to look into all of these things. And that's why I keep saying it's a whole ecosystem. You could be in a scenario where, like, bro, I need autofocus, like I am 100% useless without autofocus, and you looked into a camera system, you looked into the first party lenses, and then you're like, dude, first party lenses are ludicrously expensive, and you did not pay time to check the third party one, and then you're like, dude, the third party lens, that lens has like the aperture that I'm looking for. You bought it and it's like, dude, why the heck it's manual focus only? Pay attention. You're buying an ecosystem. Double check all these things. And local availability and cost. Now this is a very serious pain point for many people, because for example, Timex, American company, I wanted this watch in India, and I was not finding it. It was not on Instax. So I called up my friend in Australia, and he's like, bro, he was coming here in India in few days. So I was like, hey, can you look that lens? He's like, yeah, okay, I'll look at it. The price was higher. Freaking price was higher. How the heck equipment that is made in USA has a higher price in Australia? Now again, those of you who deal with tariffs and this sort of thing on regular basis, they will know, but like it was shocking to me. It was like, dude, I thought everything is expensive in India. It's like, no, it's very cheap. And then the watch came in stock in India, and it was like 30% off, like with 10% extra, like 40% off. It's like, wow. So it happens. You could literally be in a scenario, dude, I watched that video, the pricing is awesome, and then you look into your own country, you're like, what the hell, why the heck this is so expensive? It happens. Be wary of it. Be very mindful about that. And after sales support, now this is not that big of a deal for amateur kind of system where you are just enjoying a hobby, but it's a very critical aspect. You have to think about this if you're talking about arming a whole crew, whole photographic crew. Let's say you have a 5 people team who are doing a wedding photography or event photography. In those sort of scenarios, you need a system where you can just go, hey bro, we had issue with this camera, can you fix it, can you give us a replacement instantaneously? You do not have the luxury, I'm gonna do online order. No, you need a place to go. At that point, local sales, after sales support becomes very important. Or heck, just the luxury of going to them and it's like, hey, can you just give me the battery right now? And like, no, we're gonna charge double for it. Like, to shut up and take my money and give me the battery right now. It has happened to me also. It's like, no, I need this battery right now, because if I don't, I will have a gap on my YouTube upload schedule. So I do not want to do that. Like, but thankfully I had the system. So for many scenario where you are like doing critical work, you do not have the luxury of it, after sales support becomes important. And many point of time you will be like, yeah, that's why I understand why people don't buy other than these 3 cameras, like just for that. So be mindful, you are buying the whole ecosystem. Now cheap cards. Now this is the part that will be like a very early sign of an amateur. Is like they do not understand this is a single point of failure. It does not matter how good your camera, it does not matter how awesome the lens is now, does not matter how epic the photograph is, if it's not there anymore. So that's the whole thing. If your card fails for whatever reason, faulty equipments, low grade cards, low reliability cards, yeah, done, gone, poof, useless. And another aspect is, if you cheap out on that because you overspent on your card, basically your camera itself, you will have poor performance. Now that does not make sense. Think of this way. Let's say in Indian weddings we have a Varmala kind of scenario where it's like there is like a whole basically loop we have to put on top of each other. Now that's a very fast event that happens like very quickly. However, many photographers try to go to burst mode as fast as possible and take photo when that's happening, because if you slice it properly, you could have some scenarios like, that event is happening like most majestical, most people eyes are open, like, people laughing, like perfect timing. You need burst mode for that. Now how fast your burst mode is, now you may say it's my camera. Not really, because your burst mode is directly dependent on how quickly the buffer can empty into the card. Now buffer has a fixed length, so it can only handle, let's say, 50. So buffer input is much higher, output is much lower, but output is slower even slower if you have a poor card. So in those sort of scenario, even your camera should have the ability to 20 frames per second for 1 or 2 second burst. It may not be able to do that because it's still waiting for older files to dump into the system. So slow card will make your high-end camera look like a poor performing equipment. So this is a very critical aspect. And lost pictures are not acceptable. Like you cannot talk to someone who's dealing in wedding is like, yeah, my card failed, so no photograph for you. Yeah, bye bye your photographic career after that point in time. And that is the primary reason why Panasonic, Fuji, Sony, Nikon, Canon, all of them give double card slot for high-end equipments. It's a compulsory. You do not want single point of failure. And that's why like server, highest grade equipment ever made, mass produced in electronic world, they still have like whole servers are freaking backed up. You never want single point of failure. And this is the one thing that you will learn the hard way, which I have learned, is that it's a consumable. It's like almost ink, like a ink on your printer. Even though they're like rewritable, they do wear down. Again, the electron gate that is holding the electron charge, every time it's like, electron is going through it, every time you're writing on it, it will erode that puppy away. Like that's the physical part that's eroding. So what does that mean? That simply means this message you may end up randomly finding. Like this happened to me. I was like shocked what the heck happened. It's like movie recording has been stopped automatically, slow card write speed. I was like, dude, I'm using Extreme Pro. This is the best card paired up with my camera, like reliable company. Everything is awesome. Double check the serial number. It's original. How the heck this happened? Card basically simply word down. Like it happens over time. It will happen. And again, if you are doing 4K 60 frames per second, yeah, good luck with your card for longevity wise. It's not gonna last long. It's gonna wear down. And this will happen. That's why many people who are like doing this seriously learn this a long way. They'll always basically mark their cards, and they will be like, okay, I bought this card in 2018. That means for 2019 I don't have to think about it. But the moment 2020 will happen, it's like, no, try to figure out, like start to pile up money for replacement, because it's reaching that point. Like again, depending on use cases, you may be like, hey, my card lasts 5 years, but it will wear down. So you may be like, hey, for every 5 years I keep replacing my card. Awesome. But if you're like, I'm gonna buy this card and never think about it, there is a very good chance that you will get a bit slapped at very wrong moment in time. You do not want that. It's a consumable. Think about it, because the first they will go slow and then they will randomly go dead. So be mindful and always have backup cards. It does not matter, like it happens because the camera industry is stuck in 1980s. We still have to take out the card, plug it into a card reader, and then dump the file into basically equipment, dump it into a computer. That happens. But sometimes, because we are human, we are not gods, we make mistake, and you live with your camera, everything is awesome, batteries charge, and wait a minute, why the heck I don't have any card into the system? Because card is stuck into card reader. That happens. It happens to everyone. But in those sort of scenario, having a backup card would be much better. Heck, having a cheap 32 GB backup card rather than 128 GB high-end card would be much better, because you don't have 128 GB card stuck somewhere else. So always have backup cards, and people have learned this the hard way. And I have also had an issue where it's like, dude, I forgot the card. Thankfully, I had followed this advice, and I had a 32 GB backup card. I was the shoot was safe, so to say. So I have learned this the hard way, so you don't have to. Always remember, the card is a consumable. Buy a quality card, because if the card is poor performing, it will affect the burst mode and other things also. It may just randomly poop out on you and be like, nope, no video recording for you. That does happen. So be very mindful. Cheap cards are back to investment. Then we come to the psychological aspect of human mind, which you have to learn the hard way, which thankfully I was very lucky, because I had a good teacher who taught me this. It's like, never compare. Don't freaking compare. Like if you want to be miserable, compare every day. But if you don't want to be miserable, don't compare, because there is a very wise saying that is, comparison is the thief of joy. And I never understood it, but once I started to read my comments on, like, oh, I finally get it now. It's like, never compare after purchase. Do as much digging, as much research as you want to do. The moment you make the purchase, it's like, no, I bought this. The end. Never open that tab, never go into like versus camera or which lens system. No, the end, done. That step has gone. Like, do not waste time on it. You will only find sorrow if you do that. So trust me, do not do that. Now, but again, it's a new equipment. You will have that itch. Oh, I want to research that. You will have that itch, that YouTube itch. You can utilize that. There are many people who make these very detailed camera body manuals, basically. For example, a video manual where like, no, this exact model, like Canon 800D, this is how it works. Because you don't want Canon manual or Sony manual, because each camera model is different. And because of the sheer number of how many models are available, there is always some YouTuber that has done. There won't be one YouTuber that has made manual for every camera ever. It's just like, oh, this camera you have, this person has made a detailed 40-minute long, 2-hour long detailed video about how to actually utilize that camera, every single setting, function, and all that jazz. Enjoy that. How to's, they are always useful. Tips and tricks, The primary reason is that because this field is so fast, because the amount of people working on this field is so fast, and the fact that this industry is 100 years old, there's a lot of things that you do not know. No matter how good you think you are, there's a lot of things you don't know. You will be surprised like how many times like professional people who have been like getting awards, basically their photos sells for lakhs and lakhs and millions of dollars, they're like, holy damn, I did not know this trick. Like, it happens because we are human. So enjoy that fact, learn tips and tricks, but never ever compare. It's like, and focus on using, not evaluating. You are not a YouTube video reviewer. It's like, oh, I bought this camera, it's not doing very well with this one, and do not do that. You will only find misery if you do that. So please just don't goddamn compare. After purchase, do not compare. Just look into manuals, how to, tips and tricks, things of that nature. Do not compare. So this was my presentation on how the heck basically mistakes to avoid when you are a new cameraman. I hope you liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.